going live. And it's live. I didn't get the alert yet, but I'm assuming it's live.
Yes, we are live.
Running low on bandwidth, but yeah. Shows is live. Let me find my alerts.
Hi, Pixel.
There it goes. I see live. Yours always responds faster than mine. You must be closer to the YouTube server.
Perhaps.
Perskevis is there. Hello.
Crazy Investor.
Yep, Crazy
How are
Investor. I'm seeing people dialing in. And what I'll do is...
Michael, how are you this morning? Or this afternoon, midday? Gustavo, Trade Feeds,
Winnipas, Robert.
Quentin, how are you doing? Roberto, how are you doing?
Okay, I'll drop links in the channels.
Joel, hey. Bonjour.
Philippe, teach me French again, man. I forgot all my French. I love French. What a fantastic language.
Juan Matej, how's everyone doing? We're going to go live. We're going to start the broadcast in a few seconds. Rick, are we ready to go?
Yep. Okay, I'm on Reddit, sorted by top this week. And we're ready, buddy.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the Cardano Effect Podcast, episode 52. The purpose of this podcast is to take high-level developer information and projects that are occurring within the Cardano space and break them down into bite-sized, consumable pieces of information for everyday use. I'm your host, Philippe, and let's get this podcast started. Rick and myself are the hosts today, so this is going to be a relaxed episode today. We're going to be talking about the week events, so we're going to go on Reddit. We're going to talk about everything that happened within the Cardano ecosystems for this past week. It's a relaxed Saturday. We are trying to invite guests. We have been sending invitations out. So we look to be having guests come on within the next, weeks or months, and we're trying to get as many people interested in coming on the podcast as possible, but we do get denied sometimes, and we do put effort out there. So when a special guest comes on, we'll make sure to let you know, but until then, we're going to continue doing our live streams. We've been getting great feedback, and we have a lot to talk about this week. So let's get right into the mix of things. I want to remind everyone that if you are not subscribed to the Cardano Effect podcast right now, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It really helps us out. We're trying to grow this podcast as large as possible, and pushing our SEO rank to the top of YouTube for crypto podcasts is what's going to get us to that next level. We have a very big audience right now. We want to try to grow it even bigger. When the bull run happens, this channel will probably exponentially grow. So that should be exciting. We'll get a lot of fresh eyes on the Cardano project, which will be good for all investors. And that's what we're looking forward to. So until then, hit that subscribe, keep on sharing our videos, keep on tuning in. We appreciate you. So without further ado, none of what we say on this podcast is financial advice. Remember, you are your best financial advisor. And if you don't think you are, you need to find someone who's qualified to do so. Rick, how you doing this morning? What's going on? How's your Saturday?
Hey, Saturday's going well, Philippe. Thanks for asking. I'd like to give a shout out to IOHK, Input Output Hong Kong, based out of Wyoming, for sponsoring this podcast. Thank you very much. And a reminder to any new viewers that this podcast is available on Google Play Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and every single streaming app out there this podcast is available on. If it's missing from your app, please let me know and I'll get it added. And so it's going well. Stake pools are charging forward. There's a few things that we wanted to get put out early on in the podcast today before we go over to the latest news on Reddit, because a lot of the big news on Reddit is the new balance. But something we wanted to hit on early on is the wallets for the incentivized testnet, right?
Yes.
Okay. The big questions are, which wallets can you use and which ones will not work on the incentivized testnet? Philippe, you want to cover that one?
Yes, I can. Yes. So there's been a lot of information circulating. So if you go on Reddit, there's a thread there. And also Emergo has released a video. So Sebastian and Nico have released a AMA type video where they answer a lot of the questions in Reddit. So what's going to happen is if you really want to participate in this incentivized testnet that's going to be happening sometime next month, there will be a snapshot. You're going to have to hold your ADA in a dataless wallet, so a dataless address, or a Yoroi web wallet, and also a Yoroi mobile wallet. So all three of those wallets, you'll be able to participate in the testnet. Those are the wallet addresses that will be in the snapshot. Unfortunately, if you have your ADA on a hardware wallet like a Ledger or a Trezor, it will not work. So I'm assuming that this is because in order to disperse funds during the incentivized testnet, they're going to be automatically dispersed. And the developers have not yet coded for the hardware wallet. So if you have a hardware wallet, in order to get rewards on your hardware wallet, using your hardware wallet, you would have to sign the transactions. And I guess that update has not been pushed forward yet. It will hit on mainnet, but unfortunately, testnet, it's not going to happen. So you need to keep your ADA on those three addresses, either the Yoroi mobile, the Yoroi web extension, the Chrome extension, or the dataless wallet. If you're holding your ADA in ADA Lite or any of those auxiliary crypto wallets that hold ADA, you're probably going to want to move it off, because I'm sure that only Emergo and IOHK will have running wallets for the incentivized testnet. Functionality for those other wallets may come for the mainnet, but we don't know yet. And a lot of people are dubious as to whether or not they should participate because they have security concerns. But please note that there are going to be a lot of tutorials available, and there's going to be a grace period between that snapshot and when you download the new interface for the testnet. So it's going to be a separate dataless download or a separate Yoroi download. And I've also received a question about whether or not you're going to send your ADA to the testnet. You're never going to send your ADA to a testnet. It's going to stay within the dataless wallet or stay within the Yoroi wallet. So you'll have two different wallets, one with the fictitious testnet ADA and one with your real ADA. So figure out which wallet you want to put on, and figure out if you want to participate within the incentivized testnet. Given the release schedule of IOHK, I would recommend that anyone that wants rewards should figure out a way to get your wallet on those three different wallets, or your ADA on those three different wallets, because it could be 3, 4, 5, 6 months that we're participating within the testnet, and you won't be earning any rewards. So all of us that are within the incentivized testnet will be earning rewards, and you're not going to be able to join at a later date. It's going to be a now or never kind of thing, and it's going to be happening sometime in November. There's going to be a lot of tutorials, but those are the three wallets. So I'll pass it back over to you, Rick.
Yes. Also, exchanges. You cannot stake from an exchange. You would have to, if you want to participate in the incentivized testnet, move it off the exchange to Yoroi or dataless, and not use the hardware wallet like Philippe said. Please watch the video from Sebastian and Nico. There's 2 of them, and we'll get them linked down below as soon as this live feed is done to make sure you have those to reference to. They are on the Emergo YouTube channel, so check out the Emergo YouTube channel for all the latest information. It is time-stamped with a list of about 25 questions, so just find the questions you're interested in, click on that, and you will get the best answers. You will not get the best answers in Telegram or Twitter. Please check out the Emergo video. Please, please, please check that out, okay? I've seen a few questions come up in chat already. Snapshot is in November, okay? We don't know when. Stay tuned. Follow IOHK on Twitter. IOHK will put out when the snapshot will occur. It's still October. No need to ask. It's going to be in November, okay? Just want to let you guys know. Oh, Philippe, there was another important piece of information I wanted to put out as well before that occurs, all right? So keep in mind, the way this is going to work, the snapshot is going to work, is there will be a certain time frame where, here's what I'm going to do. Right now, my ADA is on a hardware wallet. Only for the snapshot, I'm going to move it off the hardware to a regular Yoroi or dataless. Snapshot occurs, then I'm going to move it back behind the hardware wallet again. I'm going to put it back to the hardware wallet. That's an example of what I'm going to do. Another important thing I wanted to put out is when these stake pool operators, some stake pool operators make websites. do not ever give your private key to a stake pool operator ever, or your funds are not SAFU. Okay? Never put your private key in a website. And I just need to put that warning out there ahead of time. I wouldn't trust anybody. Professional websites like the one that Philippe has going, they offer you the option and say, hey, if you want updates, feel free to post your email here. Okay, so if it's giving you an option, hey, if you want emails from us and updates, go ahead and post it here. But the stake pool websites, those who are operating them, should never ask you for any personal identifiable information. It's not necessary. Private key is not necessary. They don't need to know anything about you. Staking will work and on zero knowledge of the user, of the person providing the stake, the delegator, right?
That's correct.
Yep.
Don't send me your private key via email, nothing. Don't trust me. Don't trust Rick. Don't trust anyone. We don't want your private key. Please don't. All we want you to do is delegate to our pools. It has nothing to do with your private key. And at no point will you ever relinquish your possession of ADA for whichever pool you decide to delegate to. Please note that. So when you delegate, it's not like if you delegate to my pool, if you delegate to Rick's pool, it's not like we have control of your ADA. You always have control of your ADA. And if you give away your private key, you lose control. So we're not going to, please don't send any personal information, any private keys, none of that to us. We don't want to see it. Don't even put it in our inbox. Don't even write it on your computer. So this is something. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And so this week, Philippe, and then the next thing we're going to touch on was stake pools, stake pool operation. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
So stake pools continue to push forward. It's been frustrating for some of the stake pool operators, those of us who are on testnet, and we understand it can be frustrating. There's a couple of releases. The 0.6.3, 6.4 were very crashy. Went to 6.5. 6.5 is looking a little better. Mine just crashed. I just checked it. It crashed.
It crashed.
Yeah, it crashed. That's how testnet works. You're
Yes.
pushing. There are multiple different types of hardware, multiple different types of operating systems. They're making it so it'll operate on any configuration. So you're going to run into crashes, and it happens. So hang in there, stake pool operators. I wanted to do an episode here where I bring the stake pool operators on, because this Zoom, we have party mode, and we can have up to 100 people on here. Am I broadcasting in, it's only showing 2 right now, right? So we got 2 people showing.
Yes.
But we got the pro account, so we can have 100 people on here. We can have a big giant party. But I don't want to bring the stake pool operators on yet, because they're going to be all pissed off.
Yes. Yes.
They'll be
I'm
like,
having
"Nah,"
issues.
they're like-
Yes. I'm having issues on my side too. I've submitted a couple GitHub issues, but things are getting worked out, but it's not fully functional yet. So we're working on that.
Yeah. Now, the underlying stuff, all the science and cool stuff that you've been hearing about for the last year, I mean, that stuff's working, the Ouroboros under the hood and all that kind of stuff. It's doing its thing, whatever it is. I don't know what it's doing, but it's doing something. But where we're running into problems is, memory consumption and TCP/IP. TCP/IP has the issues that come with that, and that's what they're working through, is how to get all these nodes connected, communicating, and synchronizing. So, it's like, that's how software is. 95% of the software can work perfectly fine, but it's that 5% that's not working that kills you. That's the part they're working through. It's also the absolute hardest part to solve is, okay, we've got all this stuff working in the lab, and it worked in a petri dish, and the purpose of the test net is to get it out of the petri dish, and now it's in the real world. You guys seen that map? We talked about it before. The entire planet is covered with testnet. Okay, this is not in a petri dish. It is all over planet Earth. It's gonna crash. Okay, and it's tough for the stake pool operators. You guys are awesome. Hang in there, guys. Keep pushing forward, because they're collecting that data, and it's providing the ability to find the. Okay, cool. I don't mean to be like on a soapbox, but we just need to make sure the stake pool operators got hurt. And good job to IOHK folks, keeping pushing forward. Sam and Nico out there on Telegram helping all the guys out. And they must be working almost 24 hours a day.
Yes.
Oh, an old crypto geek is in chat. He made some cool tools. So check out Codex Data Systems on GitHub. He made Casper 1.2 came out last night. Standardized Network made a widget you can monitor your node with. So check out Standardized Network on GitHub. They got a really cool widget. I set it up last night, and I was like, oh my gosh, it worked the first time I installed it. Now I got to figure out what else to do with it. But it tells you your stake, it's a status board. It works like Fenrir. Nico DePrema released Fenrir, so you can either use Standardized Networks tool, and that's the really cool thing. The real positive thing about there's all kinds of positive things about the networking testnet. Yeah, it's crashy, but you got all these developers out there who are creating tools. And I launched the Casper tool, and it just lets me do stuff, and it keeps me dumb. Okay, keep me dumb, guys. Feel free to keep me dumb. I just hit enter and say, I want to do this, create an account. Boom, it created an account for me.
Okay.
And I installed the standardized network widget, and I followed the directions on GitHub, and poof, there's the widget. I had my current block height, last block hash, and all that. And Fenrir is the most advanced because you can actually put in a fragment ID, and it'll tell you what the fragment means.
Okay.
So great job to you developers out there, man. We're gonna have to do a developer episode and say, if you're developing tools, man, come on the Cardano Effect. Tell us about your toys.
Definitely.
Heck yeah, man.
Let's make that happen.
Heck yeah. So there'll be 2 separate episodes. Stake pool operators from a stake pool operator perspective. You know, what are the pros? What are the cons? You know, and how are you getting through it? And then another one for the developers who are making toys.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
We got to do that for you guys.
Maybe sometime in November, right before the snapshot, or a couple weeks before the snapshot.
Yeah.
It's almost the end of October, so we're approaching.
Yeah. So let me see if there's any questions in chat about the testnet and the current status. It's painful, but dude, you got to go through it. Keep pushing, guys. We'll get there. We'll get there. Oh, over 200, man. At one point, I had over 200 connections.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive.
They're not all there all at the same time. So some nodes are up, some nodes are down. Malaysia just showed up.
Malaysia. Nice.
Yep. Good job, Malaysia. Okay, any questions? Dude, why would people buy ADA and hold it for 2.5 years just to dump after Snapshot? Yeah, Joel, you're right. I agree. That was from Joel.
Joel also asked, what about paper wallets? I feel like people dancing around the subject, but that's where most of my ADA is. In the video from Emergo with Sebastian and Nico, they said that paper wallet status hasn't been determined yet. IOHK has not released any information about whether those paper wallets will be snapshot ready. So we're waiting on IOHK for that official release.
Yeah, and Niels Cage has a question. He says, why do you want to have your ADA in a normal wallet for the snapshot? I don't understand the reason. Yeah, I agree. I don't want to put my ADA in a normal wallet. If you're not comfortable, then don't participate. I totally get what you're saying, bro. If you are not comfortable moving your ADA out of a hardware wallet, then it might be a good idea to just keep it in a hardware wallet and skip the incentivized testnet. If you are okay with it, if you believe your security practices are reliable, then feel free to make that move. But each person has to take their own risk. It's a risk on yourself. But if you're okay with the risk, then you can participate in the testnet. And if you're not okay with the risk, then you might want to avoid the incentivized testnet.
Yes.
Is that a fair statement?
This is a fair statement. Also, want to let everyone know that if it's sitting on a regular wallet right now, there was also information that when you download the testnet version, so in November, after the snapshot, there's going to be a testnet data list that you're going to have to install and a testnet Yoroi you're going to have to install, regardless of, it depends on which wallet you want to use for staking. You're going to have to download that wallet and you're going to have to enter your seed phrase into that testnet. So there is a little vector of attack between that period of time when the snapshot happens and downloading the testnet. What I'm going to do and what has been suggested online and from Nico is after the snapshot takes place, you can move it to a completely different wallet before you start putting your seed phrase in the testnet wallet. So you have a brand new wallet with a brand new seed phrase, and you have that before you start entering your seed phrase into the testnet. It's just an erring on the side of precaution, but that's probably what I'm going to do. Most of my ADA sits in Daedalus, so I will be moving it from one wallet to the next after the snapshot, making sure that I have a separate wallet for the testnet as I do from the mainnet. And of course, the testnet address the rewards that you get during that incentivized testnet period will be credited to the wallet, to your mainnet wallet once testnet is over.
Yeah, we had another question on here too. Oh, shoot, I missed it. Sorry, I lost track of that. Any idea how many nodes are currently participating in the testnet? About 60 to 80 people and almost 200 nodes.
Yes.
There's over 200 addresses generated, but those are people practicing. They're going to practice and make stuff and say, okay, I didn't like that, and then just delete the node and make a new node, and that address will just be laying out there on the blockchain. Thinking up of setting a node just for the help. It would help. We need more people. I know it seems like there's a lot of people, but we do need more people testing. If you are going to operate a network at 1,000 nodes, you might want to test it at over 1,000. I would say 1,500. Okay, so hopefully, if we have 500 people participating and each person runs 3 nodes, then we'll get to 1,500 nodes. You know what I mean? If you're going to operate globally at 1,000, I would want to see a test at 1,500. You know, like when you weight test stuff, if it needs to hold 1,000 pounds, you don't weight test it to 1,000 pounds. You weight test it to 2,000 pounds.
That makes sense.
That way you guarantee it's going to hold 1,000 pounds.
That makes sense. I think that also if we come up a little bit short with the number of nodes that are running, I'm sure IOHK, Emergo, and Cardano Foundation will pick up the slack and run extra nodes just to stress test the system, especially if the incentivized testnet takes place for a period of months. I'm sure they're going to do some stress testing.
Yeah, they got 7 main nodes up. The endurance test is ongoing. They're continuing to endurance test 7. We call them the trusted peers. They work just like any other node. It's just, you point to them to bootstrap to say, okay, I know I can get a start by pointing to that node. Those eventually go away, but they're going to stress test it. They're going to up it to 11 nodes, and we're seeing about 60 to 80 nodes at any given time that I can see when I run this command line thing. So 60, 80 nodes at any given time are visible to my node. But the way the testnet works is not all nodes are visible to all other nodes all the time. Some nodes in one region, let's just take Europe for example. Some nodes in Europe will communicate with other nodes in Europe and then possibly Australia or South Korea, but they'll never see my node. That's okay. That's how the protocol works. It's how ProleteR works. Then some nodes in the US may never communicate with certain nodes in Europe, but they're still gossiping enough to where the protocol is propagating and all the blocks are propagating across the entire world. Okay. All right. Check any other questions.
We have a few questions about rewards percentages. I just wanted to say a quick comment about that. In the IOHK AMA that was released 4 days ago, I believe, with David Esser and a few of the other folks at IOHK, they said, once again, this is not official information, so we cannot speculate on the rewards percentages because that has not been released officially. IOHK would need to release official documentation to show exactly what the reward percentages will be. He said that from the range, someone asked a question from the range of 3 to 12%. David Esser hinted that it may be towards the higher half of that range, but we cannot, or that towards that 12%, it might be 10%, it might be 8%. Who knows? I think that we won't know until possibly the last second, or possibly it may be changing as the incentivized testnet grows and goes through this, and as we go through this process. But we do not know what the reward percentages are. And that segues into the next question from Winniepas. Quentin asked how many ADA a stake pool would need to have before saturation. That all depends on the number of pools and how much ADA is staked. So we won't know that information officially until we spend a little bit of time within the testnet, and that number will be consistently oscillating based on the input of ADA within that system, the input of staked ADA within that system. So once we figure that out and the number of pools, then we can do all the math and crunch the numbers, and we'll know the saturation rate for those pools.
Yeah. Here's how I guesstimate that number. And thanks for that question, Q. Very much appreciated. Is there's 31 billion ADA and 1,000 pools. So 31 billion divided by 1,000 gives you 31 million. You want at least 51% or more staked. So 51% of that takes you to about 16 million. So I would say at least 16 million would be the saturation point, but probably higher. That's just a rough idea. Just, you know what I mean? That's
yes.
Nobody knows.
Yes. Yeah,
it has to be tested. That's what the point of the incentivized testnet will be, is to say how much stake total, how much ADA total versus how much stake is available, and then they'll start figuring out the percentages and the variables and the constants, and that'll sort it out from there.
Yes.
A lot of this is known, but you got to test it.
Yes, and I remember Charles Hoskinson saying, this was back in Plutus Fest, so this was back last year in Edinburgh, Scotland, and he was saying that there are going to be multiple versions of Shelley, as far as the numbers are going to be tweaked as time moves forward. So this version 1 that's going to be released, it may not have the perfect numbers just because the data has not been collected. But one thing we know about IOHK, they have mathematicians, they have PhD level employees that spend their time using models, using game theory, using these proven scientific models that's going to allow the system to be as close to perfect as possible. But it won't be perfect V1. It probably won't be perfect at the beginning of the mainnet either. But let's fast forward to 2 years, 3 years from now, chances are that the reward system, the proof of stake system that Cardano releases, will probably be one of the most sensible and logical ways to run a proof of stake protocol, as far as the numbers, the returns, the percentages, the saturation rate, because this information is going to we're going to have to collect information in order to fix the system. That's it. If you guys are familiar with Tesla cars, if you have a Tesla, your car is communicating with some supercomputer at Tesla that is amalgamating all the street data, all that road data. So when they do the self-driving cars and they do automation on the highways, if your car messed up on Monday, maybe next month there'll be a patch that fixes that exact pathway through that exact highway, because they have to collect the data in order for the system to improve. So similar to Tesla, IOHK is going to have to collect data in order to improve the system, if that makes sense.
Yep, totally. Because that's what's going on right now is with the testnet. You got to run it. It crashes. Things crash. The entire testnet doesn't crash. There's always nodes that are running good in some version. They're collecting the data, making the adjustments, relaunching the test, relaunching another revision. That's how it's going. Yes. So, yeah, I know it can be frustrating, but so far these stake pool operators, they've been tough, and I admire them. They're doing a great job. They're hanging in there. Okay. Yeah, I think we got all the questions up to this point.
Yes.
Oh, do you think ADA can be used to kill the middleman? No. That was a good question, though. From Michael McGraw. You'll never get rid of a middleman. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I read that right? Sorry, my eyes are not good anymore.
I think you did.
Yeah. So do you think ADA can be used to kill the middleman? No. Middlemen are smart. They'll always find a way to put themselves back in the middle. So you might reduce it. You might improve things. It's like Binance. So you have, ADA's going to be staking. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and offer rewards if you keep it on Binance. We're trying to offer incentives for you to get it off Binance so that you can participate in the incentivized testnet. And Binance is over there going, well, let's try this and find out what happens. They're doing testing too. They're testing the humans. They're saying, hey, what if we offer them a higher percentage? Will they keep it on our exchange?
That's true. That is
They're
true.
always going to be competing. As long as people are competing, you're going to have middlemen, and that's going to go on forever. Which is
there's no problem with middlemen. It's a grain. You have to take it with a grain of salt. I mean, I don't think you should eliminate all middlemen. Middlemen do provide a good service. It's that convenience. It's that ability for people that are not as involved in systems to delegate their power to a third party. It's just about making sure the atmosphere or the landscape is as fair as possible for as many people to compete and provide competition to middlemen. So when there's a middleman in an environment, in a business environment where they own all the entities, it's like your cable provider or your television provider or your network provider, and they own the entire market, then there's a problem with middlemen. But when more people can enter the market, it puts pressure on middlemen and it kind of equalizes the price. So things are fairer for the end user. So there's no problem with middlemen. I don't think people should be pushing so hard for things for all these middleman services to go. I just don't think so.
Yeah, I think it'll all work out. It'll keep things efficient. All right, so there was another big subject that Philippe and I were going to touch on, and that was the New Balance. It's all over the top of Reddit. It's permeating. So what do you think, Philippe? You got...
Do you want me to share my thoughts first?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's great. First of all, I want to shout out to Daniel Friedman because he has been the business development guy at IOHK and he's been putting in a lot of work. And one thing that I can say about Daniel is he's a business guy and he's getting business deals done. Out of all the partnerships that we've gotten, this is probably the most recognizable brand name that people know of. New Balance, wherever you are around the world, you've probably seen some of their sneakers. You probably have seen some of their apparel. They're a pretty famous company and they make a lot of shoes. They're an American-based company. I believe 70% of the materials that they use for their shoes are made in the US. They make a lot of products in the US and they're an American shoe company, which is very reassuring because blockchain has been demonized by the media. Blockchain has been demonized online. So for New Balance, a reputable company that was established in the early 1900s, I believe the year was 1904 or 1906, one of those years. They're over 100 years old and they're using a new technology. So this is a dinosaur company using a new technology and they picked Cardano, which is wonderful. Some of the things that I would like to know more about this deal is we heard information about what it's going to be used for. It's product identification. So I downloaded the app. It's called the Realchain. So what happened this week is they released IOHK in tandem with New Balance released a product called Realchain. And it was for the sneakers that I believe they're called the OMN1S sneakers. And when you look at the history of New Balance, they're not necessarily premium basketball sneakers. They're more, they have like running shoes, walking shoes, but their price points are a lot lower. So if you compare them to a company like Nike that has the Jordan brand, they're nowhere near that. When you look at this shoe, this is one of their first steps into the premium basketball type shoe, a premium shoe where collectors would collect and people would spend a lot of money for that particular shoe. This is a step in that direction. And it's actually in tandem with a basketball player. His name is Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, for all you basketball fans or people that don't watch basketball, played on the Toronto Raptors last year and won the NBA championships. He's now in LA. He plays for the LA Clippers. So he is a very famous basketball star and he's releasing a shoe brand deal with New Balance, the OMN1S shoes. So Kawhi Leonard is the main guy behind this. So a couple of questions I have to ask is when I look at the app, it seems like it works identically it's identical to the Tangem card. So if you're familiar with the Tangem card, these were passed out in the IOHK Summit, and I believe they were sold as well. It's this card that you scan on your phone, and it uses NFC technology. So you scan the card, and you can load ADA on the card, and then you can basically extract that ADA onto a phone wallet just by tapping it on the back of the phone. But it only works locally. So that means that no one can steal the ADA on my Tangem card unless they hold that Tangem card. If you look at the shoe deal, it's the exact same thing. They include this card in the sneaker box, and you can scan it on your phone, and it brings up a string of characters, alphanumerical characters. And one thing that I was concerned about, or one thing that I wanted to learn more about, was I thought it was going to be more about the production run of that particular shoe. So if you look, Jeremy Wood on his Twitter has a picture of that New Balance shoe, the OMN1S shoe, and underneath you can see a string of characters, but nowhere does it say like this shoe is limited edition, or this is one of 10,000, or one of 100,000, or 10 of 100,000. It's more like you scan this card, you put that information on the blockchain, and it already exists. It already exists. So whoever's controlling the spreadsheet at New Balance has just a list of the shoes, a list of random numbers that are loaded onto the card, and then you can verify that on your phone. But the question is, how does this interact with ADA? How does this increase the price of ADA? This is what investors want to talk about, because they're really working on two separate different protocols. This is more of an authentication service that doesn't necessarily impact the price. So moving forward, business deals have to start from somewhere. And this was a very bold step from IOHK and Daniel Friedman to get the ball running. And this is a limited production shoe. I'm not sure if it's going to be passed to every single OMN1S shoe, because the news article said that the cards were included in the OMN1S shoes that were located in the pop-up stores in LA. So I don't know if this is just for those shoes or it's a nationwide thing. The shoes are available next week, and I know people are ordering them. So if you receive the shoe in the mail halfway across the world or somewhere else outside of California, please let me know whether or not you got this card included. So I want to know whether or not the card was just included for customers that visited that exact pop-up shop or for everyone. This way we can figure out whether or not this is for the entire production run or just a limited production run. Because if it's just for a limited production run, there's an issue there, because some shoes will be authentic and some shoes will not be authentic just based on design. I also wanted to know whether or not there are multiple shoes that are being released, the OMN1Ss. There's the Trophy Gold version, the Jurassic Park version, and the Triple White version. So there's 3 different color schemes. And does that card match every single different color scheme? Is it a different string of numbers? I don't know if it starts off with a certain numeral or a certain letter for each color scheme that indicates that that particular color scheme is authentic, or it's just all numbers for all the shoes. That's an issue that I have. That's what I want answered. I think it's a good step in the right direction. Once again, I did not know that New Balance had an issue with fake shoes. I checked a lot of the fake shoe stores online. I could not find good sources for buying replica New Balances, because personally, they don't have that problem yet. They may have some counterfeit items. They may have some counterfeit shoes, but this is a Nike Jordan problem for premium basketball shoes. I think they're trying to get into that market. So this may be a way for them to say, oh, wow, we have that issue too with this shoe, and this will help us market our brand even more. One more thing I wanted to add on this long rant. I've been trying to make sure that I cover all points.
People love your passion, man. They love your passion.
One thing I also wanted to add was the idea of, I wish there was a micropayment model for this shoe deal. If you look at what has been done, it's more of a validation model, but there's no back-end model for Cardano. There's no back-end model for ADA. So what do I mean by that? I wish there was a way for the authentication service to take it one step forward further, so that when smart contracts come out, there was some sort of monetary transaction between shoe owner to shoe owner. If you look at the box, if you look at the app, nowhere does it say powered by Cardano or used by Cardano using the Cardano blockchain. And that would have been good marketing for New Balance. A lot of people are just going to buy the sneakers, throw them in a shoe box, or throw them on a wall, or sell them without even understanding that there's technology behind this, and there's the Cardano blockchain is the one pushing this forward. And I don't know if those are plans for the future. I don't know if new shoe releases are going to run these certain product lines. I don't know if Cardano is going to improve in that sense, but this is it's very exciting to see this partnership. I want to see how things mature as they move forward. These are some of the questions I had, and I'll pass it over to you, Rick. I've talked for long enough. I feel like I've been talking for like 30 minutes.
Well, Philippe, I'm glad you put a lot of thought into it, because I didn't. I just looked at the picture and said, ooh, I want the gray ones, No, but one thing I do want to note, I believe the only thing the microtransactions are paying for is storing data on a blockchain. For example, storing the unique number that identifies the shoe as authentic. There's a fee for storing that data. And so I'm anticipating it could be like 0.5 ADA or 1.5 ADA or some small number where to record that data. Hopefully it's on layer 2. I don't know if I hope it's stored on layer 2. I don't think it should be on the settlement layer. But yeah, I think that's what the cost is. Okay, is the cost to store and record that data and have it permanently emblazoned in the blockchain. I think that's the key behind it. I don't think the goal is to purchase shoes with ADA, although that would be great. Now that you have the spend card, you can. Oh, that was another big news. Spend card, ADA on spend card. Now I can buy my tacos. So by next week, I have 2 goals. One, next week I'm going to have a New Balance shirt on. There's a New Balance store down in Virginia Beach, and they also carry it at some of the sporting goods stores in my area. And then I have my taco bought with ADA. But yeah, those are great points you brought up about how do these partnerships work, because this will make for a good model. Whatever's learned by the work with New Balance can be carried on to other manufacturers and other makes. And one last note on that is that I have to say is the audio and video technicians looked up the counterfeiting problems, and it's pretty heavy. Now it's hard to get, it's not impossible, but it's a little bit harder to get all the counterfeit items into the U.S. borders. But there is a lot of counterfeiting out there of anything with a logo. People just slap together and sell it and say it's authentic. So
yes,
they looked at videos on YouTube. The videos on YouTube just showed the extent of counterfeiting products, because you could take a garbage product and slap a cool logo on it and charge a lot more money for it. So I think that's good forward thinking on New Balance's part to say, hey, how do we prevent this from occurring once we put out a premium shoe? And I do like the gray ones.
Gray ones
I have
look
at least a shirt. I might get the shoes.
The gray ones with I think those are the Jurassic Park with the red top sole. Those look decent.
No, I don't have it pulled up right now, but there were gray ones with the white N on it, with the white logo.
Okay.
Are those showing? Then there were blue ones with the red logo. Those ones are a little bit much for me, but a young person would really get a kick out of those. And a basketball player too, because they're basketball shoes. All right.
The counterfeiting problem, though, is a huge deal. It is a huge deal. I didn't want to undermine it I went to China in 2012, and it is the craziest thing that you've ever seen. If you go shopping, I mean, Apple, Nike, it's all counterfeit. It's all counterfeit. There's so many counterfeit stores, so many counterfeit products. What I was talking about in terms of the New Balance counterfeiting problem, I feel as though the price points are lower on the New Balance shoes, especially in the States, that it's not even worth it for the end customer to actually purchase counterfeit New Balance shoes. That may differ around the world, but people that buy counterfeit shoes, especially basketball shoes here, they're buying counterfeit Jordan shoes. They're buying counterfeit Adidas shoes, like those Yeezys. they're buying counterfeit high value shoes. It doesn't, New Balance shoes, they tend to be on the lower end for shoe prices, especially amongst collectors. So I feel as though in the United States, I'm just speaking about the United States, that counterfeiting problem is less of an issue for New Balance. But with this new shoe, this is at a price point at I don't know, it's probably going to be between $120 to $140, around that range. That immediately opens the door for counterfeit.
Oh yeah, definitely. So that was Philippe. We hit on all of the big stuff on the on Reddit. There was also I'd looked at the Emergo blog. Emergo had 2 blog posts this week. One of them was about healthcare data on the blockchain. So if you were interested in that information, check out Emergo's blog at emergo.io and on their blog posts. But they did have 2 blogs out this week, and the medical information on a blockchain, like, you're not going to store medical information on a blockchain to make money. That's not the point. The key is to ensure privacy. These are some of the points in the Emergo article, are to ensure privacy of the users and also to make the data more available to the healthcare providers. I think those were 2 of the key points of having blockchain solve problems in the healthcare industry, is being able to share the information so the healthcare providers that need it can get it, and also keep it secure so that it doesn't compromise your privacy. So if you guys are interested, check that out on the Emergo.io blog. Emergo is always blazing ahead with business-related activities and adoption-related activities. How do you get it out into the hands of the business? Okay, so that's something else to check out. So Philippe, what I'll do is I'll scan through and see if we hit everything big on Reddit. And we'll check chat. And it looks like we're approaching, we got about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
Oh, here's a big one. Number 2 on Reddit. So we hit number 1, the launch of the Incentivized Testnet. Number 2 on Reddit for this week is that Charles Hoskinson put out, looks like Jormungandr 0.7 will be shipped next week. That's good news. Anytime it goes up a decimal point, there are code breaking changes or network breaking changes. So code that ran on the 0.5 network is not compatible with the 0.6 current network. If you're still running the 0.5 code, make sure you upgrade to the 0.6 code. 0.7 coming out next week, and the Genesis block might change. Pay close attention to what Sam says in Telegram. He might change the Genesis block and reset and launch with 0.7, because those major changes, those are sometimes network breaking changes, because there's a major change in the protocol and how they talk to each other. And they won't be reverse compatible. Like right now, you can run 6.1, 6.2, or 6.5. Don't run 3 or 4, it'll crash. and they'll still talk to each other. But a 6.5 will kind of talk to a 5.5, but not really right out of the box. Okay, so that was good stuff there. Jormungandr 0.7 coming out next week. And remember, Jormungandr is just for pools. If you're not trying to run a pool, don't worry about Jormungandr. Make sure you focus on Yoroi and Daedalus if you want to stake. There was another one. I don't see it in the list yet. Maybe it's too new. Daedalus 1.7 is coming out shortly. I do not see it on the top Reddit news. Okay, so Daedalus 1.7, some big changes coming out with that. I don't know what all the changes are, but this is the versions of Daedalus that are going to get us moved over into the new types of address schemes and new functionality in there. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for the new version of Daedalus 1.7 coming out. It's Cardano SL 0.15. Okay, so that's the another big thing coming out this month. I'm looking forward to that. I'm curious to see what those new technologies are that are going to be incorporated.
It should be exciting.
Yeah. Do you got any inside intel, Philippe?
No,
I don't. If you did, you would be like, well, I can't say it on the podcast.
No, I don't have any inside intel.
Okay. I always like when I see a new version of Daedalus coming out. I get to play around with it. It works well for me. Daedalus have been working really well.
It's come a long way. It's come a long way.
It has. Okay, let me see. Cardano leaps into the mainstream with the New Balance, New Balance, New Balance. Yeah, New Balance was really big on Reddit. Cardano Incentivized Testnet explanation and Yoroi staking AMA. Aha, that's another important one. So you had the Sebastian and the Nico AMA. You also had a very large group chat with David Esser and Alejandro Garcia and several other people. So check that one out. Did you catch the entire thing, Philippe? I watched a lot of it, but my stream kept breaking up.
I watched maybe 75% of it.
Okay, yeah. So check that out if you want to see more information on the incentivized testnet information. So you got 2 from Emergo. There's 2 from Emergo, and you have 1 from IOHK from David Esser and team on the incentivized testnet information coming out. The rest of the Reddit posts all the way through the top 10 are all either related to the Realchain. Realchain is the New Balance chain. I like that name. I'm glad they got that one. The name Realchain is the name for the New Balance verification chain. And the Shelley mainnet could include ledger integration, the team reveals. Okay, so that was posted by Reddit user Carlos Esverde, that the mainnet. So the testnet will not have hardware wallet integration. Hardware wallet integration for staking will not come until after testnet, when the Shelley mainnet proper is out later next year. Just be alert to that. But like we mentioned earlier, for the snapshot, you can move your ADA to a non-ledger if you're comfortable to that, or a non-Trezor. Get the snapshot and then move it back. Okay, it looks like we got all the top 10. Wow, New Balance goes all the way down. It's all the way down the page, man. I had reviewed it earlier, and I realized, the top 10 is almost all either New Balance or testnet. That's the big news. I think we covered it thoroughly.
Let's take it to chat then. And
take it to chat, and then it's
yes.
a wrap. Okay, so guys, anyone who's still watching, if you made it this far through the podcast, go ahead and throw your questions in chat. We'll try to answer everything we can. And Philippe and I still have that policy that if anyone can't answer the question, we'll answer it. And our answer stands until someone else comes on and corrects us.
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay, let's see how many questions we can get. And you guys help us out in the chat, too. If we get something wrong, let me know.
Yes.
Or help your buddies out in the chat. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go head back up in chat here.
Wilman says he loves this channel. Well, thanks for tuning in. Wilman Gonzalez. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking what we do.
Yep. Here's a good point from Coin Collector. Thanks for posting in here. Coin Collector notes that it's important to understand that Cardano does not need advertising from New Balance. The network effect is far greater than any advertising will do. Cardano is an institutional grade blockchain. Yeah, I think it's a good partnership. It's symbiotic in a way. If we'll see, we'll find out, right? It's an experiment in how things work. Because there's no mass adoption yet. But thank you, New Balance, for jumping on there.
Dan Norman says, which shoe is it? It's the OMN 1S's. And they release next week, the 23rd, I believe. I'm not sure whether or not those Realchain cards are included in each purchase of the OMN 1S's, whether it's a particular color scheme or whether it was just for the shoes that were at the pop-up location in LA. So anyone that orders it online and you receive the shoe, let us know if you get that Realchain card as well. Is it for every single shoe and every single color stream of the every single color variation of the OMN 1S's? Or is it just item specific?
Yeah, and that comes to also with the last point in chat. The Jakub states, anyone know if you can pre-order the OMN 1S? I haven't seen that, but I went online. I searched online, and I saw people already advertising the OMN 1S for between $140 and $165. But when I followed the links, it didn't seem conclusive. So I don't know if you can order it online yet. I don't know if you can pre-order it.
You can probably pre-order it from a reseller who probably has their spot in line already at some New Balance store. So That's one thing, but I don't think New Balance will open up their portal until the 23rd. So you may want to check on the official New Balance site if you don't want to pay extra. But if you want to pay extra, I don't blame you either. They have the Jurassic Park color variation is nice. It's not my favorite shoe look wise, but I think that there are people that like it. So it's up to you.
Yeah, and I'm going to go down to the New Balance store in Virginia Beach next week and see what they got going on there.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, from Ashore Turk makes a good point here. It says the question is why there are no mention of Cardano in New Balance release. We need special edition of New Balance having a Cardano logo. They should customize one. It's possible. I mean, maybe they'll do it. I don't know. Like a special edition. The problem is, how many computer geeks play basketball? How many? Okay, here's what computer geeks are doing. Because y'all computer geeks, okay? I'm just going to call it like it is. You know, I'm wearing Nike running shoes right now, okay? I'm going to get me some New Balance shoes. But they're not going to get a whole ton of customers on crypto. Because y'all ain't wearing basketball shoes. Y'all wearing slippers and stuff. I'm sorry, man. I just got to say it. I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
It's the ball players, the sports players. They ain't crypto. But we're the fans.
Yeah.
So if they come out with the Cardano logo version, I'm going to get the Cardano logo version. If they don't, I'm still going to get it.
Yeah, it's probably the wrong demographic because, yeah, I mean, I play a little basketball recreationally, but I'm not going to eat up the entire supply of whatever shoe production run they do.
What'll happen is New Balance will bring us people from the sporting world.
Exactly. That is true. That is true. Do you see Duncan rocking those shoes? Or, do you see any of the developers that are sitting right now in a room coding for Daedalus? Do you see them wearing those shoes? I mean, I saw a picture of Charles in the background. He's at the Adidas event, and I still saw his boots on. He wasn't even wearing the Adidas shoes.
New Balance.
He wasn't even wearing the New Balance shoes. I mean, the New Balance shoes. Sorry. I see Adidas in the chat. That's why I'm saying Adidas. But yeah, so I don't know. We'd have to have some kind of poll to see how many people are going to pre-order those shoes.
Next up is going to be a New Balance cake. That'll be the next cake eating.
Yeah.
With a New Balance shoe. Yeah, I'm going to eat the shoe. I'm going to eat a New Balance shoe.
Charles says he's going to eat the cake. Rick, you're going to have to make another cake because you said yours was good, and you're going to have to ship it over to Charles.
I bought it at the store.
You bought it at the store? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But you did the design. You did the design. I mean, you could put the final touches.
Yeah. That's what made it so horrid looking. Hey, Eistein's there. Eistein says, well, Duncan is a wizard, so like Magic Johnson, could totally see him wear NB shoes. Yeah. I could see Duncan with New Balance shoes and a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Master Jedi Duncan Coops.
I think if this shoe deal is the real thing and it really brings us to the next level. I mean, it's still debatable as to whether that's the point or that's going to happen. The IOHK employees should have a scrimmage match on the basketball court with the Emergo people, and they should televise it all in New Balance shoes. And we'll just have the Cardano Foundation people. They'll just be the referees. Emergo and IOHK can play the game. Cardano Foundation can sit in the bleachers and referee the match.
That would be kind of funny. If they ever get in an argument, they could have like a chili cook-off or volleyball tournament, play against each other. With Cardano ref in it. Okay. All right. It looks good. Any other questions in chat?
Let's see. People are mentioning VeChain partnered with Adidas. I'm curious to see what the nature of their partnership was, and whether or not it's similar to what Cardano's doing.
Yeah, with VeChain?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. I think there's also a lot of technologies to be explored. I got a feeling that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Okay. Falcon Eye Vision says, do you have an idea, guys, on the percentage of the staking incentive? A realistic guess. My realistic guess is in the first year, it's going to be somewhere between 8 and 10% because the highest risk takers are the early adopters. But that's just a guess. And then it will kind of like decline over the years. It will, I don't know how quickly, but it's going to be some number, maybe 7% the first year, just a guess. And then the following year, it'll be like 5, 3, 1. I've learned my lesson, though. You got to be careful with your words because people will come back and poke me on Twitter and say, but you said this. It's like, dude, guess. I guessed. Just guess.
Yeah.
No one knows. If you want to know my guess. So thank you for asking that question, Falcon Eye Vision. Hopefully, what I go by is what is the risk and what's the current market? If I invest my money in ADA, not financial advice, if I invest my money in ADA and I can get an 8% return at a very high risk, and I get an 8% return, or I can invest my money in a new startup company at 10% with the same very, very high risk, well, I'm going to want 10%. You know what I mean? That's just how it works.
Yes.
I know people say, what about capital appreciation? You say, yeah, what about capital loss? I'm operating at a loss right now.
Well, it's good that we're in a severe bear market because the risk, the chances of capital appreciation on top of your rewards is technically higher than it was at the time. It's good that staking was released now because we haven't had to ride the staking rewards down as well as capital losses as well. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
and you know, there's a couple of things that we need to bring up about the testnet, and we're on the last couple of minutes here. We're about done. We're at the time marker, and thank you for bringing that up, Falcon. I appreciate that. And that is, you know, like what percent are pools going to be charging the users for running a pool? Okay, because you see all kinds of random numbers, not random, but numbers thrown around out there, and people have to keep in mind these pool operators are currently investing a massive amount of time and resources, and it will continue to take time and resources. And they got to pay either an electric bill or an internet bill, or if they're leasing a server from a professional provider, they have bills to pay. It's probably not going to be 0%. If someone's charging 0%, they're operating at a loss. You know what I mean, Philippe?
yes.
I know I'm trying to run a pool. I cannot do it 0%. I'm trying to figure out what that number is. But so keep this in mind. Let's say I use 3% as an example. That's not 3% of everything. That's 3% of 8%. What is that? 0.024% or 0.24%? Okay.
Yes.
So if the total staking reward is 8% and the pool fee is 3%, then that's 3% of 8% or whatever that number is, you know. So if your rewards are 100, you get 97 and the pool operator gets 3 as an example. Okay. So if you're getting 100 back, you get 97 and the pool operator gets 3. If a pool operates at 0, then they're operating at a loss. I don't know anyone who can do that. I know I can't operate at a loss. Yeah, the internet costs money.
Let me tell people something that want next to free staking pools. First of all, I don't want to be rude or anything, but if you want 0 fees or all the fees that you want in your pocket, you need to run your own pool. You need to run your own node. But the thing is, the reason why we have pools is because it's a lottery. So the more ADA that you have in a pool, up to a certain point, means the higher chances that you're elected as a slot leader, which means the higher rewards. So if you're sitting there with 100,000 ADA in your account and you think you're going to run a pool successfully by yourself, you're mistaken because you're never going to run and you're never going to win any slots. You're going to be in the red. And back to the point of people wanting to stake with the lowest possible percentage pools. If you truly want Cardano to be successful long-term, you're going to have to try and understand that businesses are going to need to flourish within this ecosystem. which means that they're going to need to be incentivized in order to continue running their operations. If you have this whole attitude of zeroness, and no one is, everyone is operating at break even, and some people are operating
give it all away to charity, which is a nice idea, but reality
it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Look at the Bitcoin model. Look at the Lightning Network. Only a few people that have mega whale wallets that are bored with their time are operating Lightning Network pools and putting $1 million in to get $50 in return. But they don't care. They don't have the time. They have time. They just want to improve the network. But it's only a few. It's only a couple. Notice that it will never be more than a couple if those rewards are not incentivized. If you want 1,000 pools, you're going to have to pay those 1,000 pools, and you're going to have to reward businesses that are putting their money on the line and offering you those services. If you don't have successful businesses within Cardano, Cardano will never be successful. It's just a matter. That's just how it is. It's how it is. If we're going to all operate at a break even, then we might as well live in,
Philippe, here's what I would do literally. If I was operating at break even, I would just shut the pool down. That's what they'll do. If it cost me this much money to run the pool plus my time, so much money plus my time, or I can just let someone else do it and point at their stake pool. Well, I'm just going to point at their stake pool because I'm going to make just as much money, but I won't have to do anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Rick, you hit it.
If I can make the same amount of money doing nothing, well, okay, then I can go fishing and ride my motorcycle. Okay, that's what I'm going to do.
Exactly. At the end of the day,
these pool operators that are working on this right now, these guys are putting in like 40 hours a week of volunteer time. I see guys on the stake pool channel right now. They say, "Oh, I'll fix that as soon as I get home from work." You know what I mean? They're not doing this stuff like.
Yes.
These are hardworking people, man.
And they deserve to be rewarded if Cardano takes off. And you will be rewarded too. You're getting your staking rewards. Everyone wins. This is how it works. Everyone wins. If we want to live in governance is coming. Liquid democracy is coming. There's a certain level of democracy that's coming to the Cardano blockchain. If we want to operate on a different political system where everyone is breaking even and everyone is sharing equivalency, let's all put our ADA in a pot and let's all distribute it equally. But at the end of the day, people are trying to run businesses, so they should be able to charge what they want to charge. It's up to you. It's a free market. You choose which pool you want to delegate to. You choose the reward schemes that make sense to you. You choose whatever philosophy that you want to go forward with, but support your local small business. Support your local stake pool. That's how this is going to grow. That's how it's going to grow. That's at the end of the day, the person that's running a 0% breaking even stake pool, yeah, it's going to be exciting week 1, week 2, week 10, but wait until year 2.
Yeah,
you'd be completely bored. No one's going to want to keep something running at no advantage for themselves.
Yeah,
at all. So,
and that's why it was designed the way it was designed.
Exactly.
Oh, it's competitive though. Someone out there might say, you know what, I can run a pool at 0%, and the attention that I get, I'm going to make money somewhere else. But like they sell some product. Okay, but selling that product is where they're going to make the money. I don't see how that business model is going to work. The pool itself has to provide a reward. That's the only reason Bitcoin miners run. That's the only reason the Ethereum Classic miners run, is running the pool has a return on investment. And we all saw a couple of months ago when Bitcoin did not become profitable, the hash rate dropped by 30% and the value dropped. So as soon as it was not profitable, people walked away. And that's just how humans are.
And in this world, it's like everyone's trying to eat, everyone's trying to provide them for themselves, and there's no incentive, there's no reason to move forward. Even IOHK has an incentive. At the end of the day, when their contract runs up, they're going to submit a bid or a proposal, and they're going to have to get paid from the community, from ADA.
Yeah.
They're going to have to be paid a percentage of transaction fees that are in the pot to continue their work. They're not going to do it for free, and nor should they.
Yeah.
Nor should they.
And you know, Philippe, you bring up a good point. People have often asked me in Telegram and said, hey, what about IOHK staking that 2 billion ADA? Well, I certainly hope they do, because not only it'll secure the protocol by staking it, number one. Number two, if they didn't, boy, what a waste. Go ahead and stake it, please. You know, go ahead and make money. I want to find out what happens. Let's see what happens when you do that. It'd be pretty cool. And if you don't like it, you could point your stake towards me. I'll take it. You know, I'm okay with that. To pick all those pool operators, you know, point it towards them or whatever.
Exactly.
So I absolutely, certainly hope they stake it. That's the point of the protocol. That's how it was designed.
Nothing in this world is 100% altruistic. And at the end of the day, if take Charles's ADA away from him, see his motivation to continue working on this project. No matter how passionate people appear to be, if you take the IOHK investment away from him, if you take his ADA away from him, if he stops paying Duncan and the rest of the people on staff, no one's going to want to work on Cardano. You have to pay to stay. You have to pay to play. That's the name of the game.
Yep. Well, that's good, Philippe. We touched on the finances, okay? Because remember how we said we always want to touch on finance because we got traders out there, and this is all about the money. So we touched on finances, and that's good. I think we hit all the subjects very thoroughly. I hope we answered everybody's questions reasonably well. I've been scanning chat and checking on that. One other thing we should probably touch on, I learned something from Caitlin Long, is you got to touch on the politics. There's a congressman from Ohio who's a pro-blockchain guy. He's a former Army Ranger, and I've been following him on Twitter. And you can't, what I mean by touch on politics is not take sides. That's not the point. But that is, you can't create a new financial system and deploy it to the world without having to address the problem of politics, or not the problem of politics, but the science of politics. Okay, because you got to get the buy-in from the elected representatives. So we'll try to revisit that subject as we see more information. There's more politicians getting involved with blockchain, and they're starting to become pro-blockchain. So we'll visit that kind of information. I think it's very important that people are aware of that. And it's not, because politics can be divisive, but that's not the kind of politics we're talking about. We're talking about in the context of Caitlin Long style, where she's like, hey, we need to get legislation that supports blockchain. You can't create legislation without the politics. You got to have it. Sound good, man? You ready for a wrap?
Yes, ready for a wrap up. So thank you everyone for tuning in on this Saturday, wherever you are on this planet. Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. We enjoyed ourselves today. We're going to be doing this live stream again next week. Just a quick recap. The addresses that you can keep your ADA on for the snapshot. It is Daedalus, Yoroi, the Yoroi Chrome extension, and the Yoroi mobile wallet. So if you want to participate in the Incentivized Testnet, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to get your ADA on those three platforms. If you don't want to participate in the Incentivized Testnet, there's nothing to do. It's not going to work with the hardware wallet, so you can just wait until the mainnet. We also talked on the New Balance deal. That was the middle half of the podcast. We touched on some Reddit threads. And towards the end, we talked about rewards for staking pools and what is going to be the monetary strategy for these staking pools moving forward. We appreciate all the support. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe to the Cardano Effect podcast. Show us your support. Continue supporting this podcast. This benefits all of us. And we really appreciate everyone supporting this podcast, reaching out to us, and helping us grow to this podcast of what it is today. Picture this. We have almost 6,000 subscribers on YouTube. Our podcast is doing numbers. We are syndicated. We have audio versions. We are everywhere. And a lot of people know about this podcast. Let's fast forward to the next bull run. That's going to magnify. This is going to avalanche. And think about how many new eyes are going to come and be introduced to this project, going to see our podcast and say, oh, I'm interested. Maybe I'm going to invest. Maybe I'm going to start staking. That benefits every single one of us. This is exactly what we need to get this mass adoption thing rolling. We need new minds. We need new investments. We need new businesses. And this is what's going to allow us to grow as much as possible. So once again, have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Spend some time with some friends and family. I hope everyone has a great week as well. And hopefully the news is as exciting as last week's. So until the next episode of the Cardano Effect podcast, we appreciate everyone, and bye.
Thank you, Philippe. And I'm going to pause recording.
Okay.
I still show live.
Yes, we are still live.